So March is both National Disabilities Awareness Month and International Women's Month. So we decided to dedicate our space to conversations around the intersections of our identities and the spectrum of disabilities. The Mixed Space's purpose is to continue to expand our awareness and become more inclusive and be a stronger support system for our community members. Every month, we serve to create more space, more visibility, and equity in the world for marginalized folks and those who feel pushed out of dominant society. The mixed space is a stage for people to share their personal voice about their mixed identities, a place for stories of the past, the present, and the future. I can say for myself, in preparation and research for this month, I definitely had experiences of heartbreak as I continue to realize how much I still have to learn. And our team has gone in circles as we call ourselves in continuously to check our internalized ableism and acknowledge our ignorances. I'm so grateful that all of you are here, and I'm humbled to share space with you, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Lily. Each month we do a moment of silence. And so right now we would like to take a moment of silence. We would like to honor all of the unheard voices and people who aren't able to speak for themselves. We also would like to take a moment of silence right now for the people in Ukraine fighting for freedom, and also not forgetting about the many places all over the world who face war and who are struggling for freedom. So victims of war and refugees, especially women and children. And if you would like to name anything else to have this moment of silence for, please drop in the chat.
Thank you so much for holding silence, and thanks, Ariel, for leading this moment. As we say traditionally, without further ado, I would like to announce our fabulous speaker here with us today. We really admire this month's speaker for creating an organization that advocates and promotes the representation of Black and Brown women with disabilities. Donna is a leader to look up to for the many ways that she has shared herself and her work, and the ways in which she builds community through events, workshops, through her books, and more. Donna is truly a force to be reckoned with, and we're dropping her handles and links in the chat to her work right now. She's really done quite a bit already and has the power and the energy to just keep going and keep serving. Faith, resilience, and reinvention are words that resonate with me personally. And I can't wait, Donna, to hear more about your journey. So let's all together just welcome Dr. Donna Walton, please. Yes, claps. Any way that you want to show claps, shoulder shake.
I hear it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, party emojis.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so very, very much. I am delighted and honored to be here, and I am so grateful to be here. I just, sometimes, you know, you get so overwhelmed. This day I was really building so much energy to be here with you today, because when I started this journey, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. So let me just start from the beginning and just say again, I am delighted to be here with you today so that I can take in the delight to share with you my story as a Black woman who happens to live with a disability. And I'm also happy to be here because I'll share an opportunity. I have an opportunity to share with you my lived experiences and how I've been able to birth this wonderful organization called the Divas with Disabilities Project. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to jump right in. So I'm going to basically tell you some boring details about me, okay? And then I'm going to get into the excitement, I think, anyway. So I always like to start off with telling you my academic background, my professional background. So I have over 20 years experience in diversity and disability services. I come to this space with the passion to transform lives, for people to live the best life that they can live, whatever that looks like for them. I know for me, I'm more committed to Black and Brown women because that's my lived experience. I started this organization, the nonprofit organization, the Divas with Disabilities Project, because it was something I had to do. When my journey began over 45 years ago, I shouldn't tell you that. It was because there were no images, there were no likenesses of myself reflected in mass media. So I started this journey, starting off with education. I wanted to be committed to young children, actually, who live with disabilities. And then I moved from that space to working with adults with disabilities, getting my master's degree and want to know more about how individuals with learning disabilities and other disabilities that prevent them from learning, how do they move through their education? Because again, my whole vision is to have people live the best lives they can be. And I guess that kind of stems back, I kind of skipped a real important piece about my story, is that I always dreamed that I would be a star. Oh, yeah, of course, I'm still a star, right? Life, took me down some roads and bends when I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And I wanted to not let that disease, if you will, or that event transform my life in any way that it would remove me from my dreams. But it did, in fact, shift my dreams to where I knew that I was never going to be, or not I'm going to say never going to be, but I knew that Hollywood was no longer going to be the trajectory. But if I could use the classroom as my stage, that's what I would do. And that's what I did for the next 10 years or 20 years of my life, is committing my life to education and then moving away from that and then ultimately getting my master's degree in counseling, because I then, again, wanted to transform lives and see women live their best lives. And throughout this whole walk of mine, there were three sort of defining moments in my life that somewhat defined who I was and showed me what life was going to be for me as a Black woman with a disability. And one of those, and out of that came a motto that I live with today. And it says, what's a leg got to do with it? And see, that's exactly what I thought when this female rival told me that I was less than a woman because I had one leg. You see, she thought because I had one leg, that was going to define who I was. But naturally, we know the story, right? And so the next incident, I had to ask the same question to this young student. I said, what's a leg got to do with it? When he stepped to my desk one day and he said to me, Miss Walton, no man will ever marry you. And of course I say, why not? And he says, because you have one leg. What man would want to ever marry you with one leg? Well, little did he know I'm not married, but I would hate to say that it's because of his prognostication, right? No, we won't say that. And then the third event that sort of changed my life or defined my life and let me know what this walk would be like with disability was when I went for a job and the interviewer clearly asked me, how would I get a story? I was applying for a position as a reporter. And he asked, how would you get the story? And of course, I was stunned and paralyzed by this. And of course, he was implying the fact that because I walk with a cane and a limp, there was no way that I was going to be hired for that job. So the message came to me very early, or these three experiences came to me very early, that my disability was going to be an issue. So I share these experiences with you because these experiences played an integral role in shaping my understanding of my disability. And it relates to how I perceive my disability and how my disability is perceived by others. So let me explain a little further. You see, the female rival told me that I was less than a woman. And she was actually telling me that the value of a woman was attached to how I looked, right? Or how we look. And that women have been socialized to believe that our legs, our hips, our thighs are deemed prime assets by some of the opposite sex, and thus characterizing women with disabilities as unfeminine and undesirable. And likewise, my second grade student supported my theory because he too was being reared in a family that was teaching him the same values about women who may have one leg, one arm, or perhaps even used a wheelchair. That's because disability was not seen as a standard of beauty in households. When he watched TV movies, read books and magazines. It's unlikely he witnessed his father admiring a woman who was an amputee, being admired by another man because she donned a sexy bathing suit. So that I was destined, I guess, to be desired, that women were destined to be desired by a man and remain unmarried, made sense to him. I mean, why would ever, for God's sake, why would some man want to marry a woman with one leg? That's not something that the family, he seems sexy, didn't really value women in that way. And so I find that my example related to the employer, because he immediately defined my disability as a deficit. When I walked into his office, walking with my cane and an obvious limp, in spite of my qualifications, he was not focused on what I was able to do. He was only focused on what he saw, and that signaled to him what I could not do. And that, of course, disqualified me. I hope you get my point here, is that when society sees us, or some members of society sees us, we're discriminated against. Women in particular are discriminated against because automatically the value of what they see based on our body parts is how society deems and defines what a woman should be. Living with a disability, and particularly living at the intersection of being Black, female, and disabled, I have seen and witnessed all of the discrimination biases that I could possibly witness. And it was because of all of the assaults and all of the messages and all of what I saw throughout the decades that Divas had to be born. Divas had to be born. It had to come about. I didn't know exactly how Divas would actually become the organization that it is, but it had to be because I was constantly getting these messages, and I just cannot believe that my life was going to be defined by how others would perceive me as being disabled. Now, of course, the word disability is applied to us and disabled is applied to us, but it's just a name and it doesn't define us. And that's one of the messages that we at the Divas, with Divas with Disabilities, we really hone that, and we really own that we don't own disability. I mean, we don't own being disabled. We use disability as a sense of power. Why? Because we are empowered. Because we live with one leg, one arm, maybe blind, and other chronic illnesses that define our bodies, we move and transcend beyond our disabilities. Divas, dynamic, illuminating, victorious, achieving sisters. That's what Diva stands for. And we understood that diva and disability could coexist in a single person. So that's another reason why Divas had to be born, because we wanted to show that if we wanted to walk out without canes and struts or a spin in our wheelchairs, that we could do so. And we could do so proudly and boldly without any of the assaults, because we show up unapologetically. We are proud of our bodies. We own our bodies. We wanted to show, or Divas is really about standing in truth, standing in authenticity, and living out our lived experiences without, I guess, without the criticism, but also knowing how to advocate and be powerful to basically debunk those stereotypes and myths. So there's a poem that somewhat defines divas with disabilities, and that is, do not try to constrain me. Never try to fit me in a box, for I am more, so much more than you can force to fit in the tiny space limited by your own lack of vision. So that poem somewhat encapsulates what Divas is all about. So what is Divas? Nonprofit organization that amplifies the images and representation of Black and brown women. We use Divas with Disabilities as a space to promote our talents, to promote our gifts, so that if we want to show up on a TV set, we should be hired. And when a young girl with a disability happens to turn on a television set, she would see herself. Or when you look through these glossy magazines, do you see me? Do you see her? Who do you see when you see those in those the images? Do you see? Well, we want to see ourselves. We want to see ourselves reflected in mass media. We want to see ourselves reflected in advertising. We are consumers. We have over $1 billion, right? That's out there on the table that's not utilized because society, some members of society, don't see us being able to, live normally, right? I mean, we don't take baths, we don't put on perfume. I mean, what is that about? So I really wanted to create an organization that would encompass and embody all of the sort of negative stereotypes that were placed out there. And we wanted to take and flip disability on its head. So Divas with Disabilities came together as a Facebook group. Actually, it started as a Facebook group, and it was women with disabilities. And we all found that we had something in common. We also talked about our lived experiences, and then it just morphed into this organization now that has programs such as, we have an initiative called the Diva State of Mind Initiative. And this initiative mentors young girls. It uses the empowerment model to work with young girls so that they too can go out and be self-advocates and promote disability justice, because we're in all realms of society. I mean, I could really talk about how hospital rooms, or sometimes when some Jimmys go to different, go to a hospital, go to a doctor's office, what happens there is that sometimes the tables are not accessible. I mean, and we want to talk about how many times divas have gone on auditions, have gone to audition, and the spaces are not accessible. I mean, disability justice is really looking at all of the areas in our society of where we intersect, and pretty much advocating for those things to be corrected. And so we can start with healthcare. You can look at housing. Everywhere that there is, where we move in life, that's where you can find women with disabilities, and particularly Black women with disabilities, because as I said, we live at the intersection of disability, of race, gender, and disability. And it's a very dangerous intersection because we're always assaulted at every level. In fact, there's this researcher who created this term called triple jeopardy syndrome, and it just really tells a story of how women are marginalized on these identities, and you never really know. I know I don't, and still do today. Never know which of those identities that's really kind of working against me. You know, for example, I don't know if I don't get a job sometimes, apply for a job, I don't know if I'm not getting that job because what? I'm Black, because I'm a woman, or because of my disability. I never really know, but, because they're always, those identities are always marginalized and they're always discriminated against, and you just never know which one is working against you. So that's why Divas works very, very hard for us to really own who we are. And advocate for one another, advocate for ourselves, because that's really really important. So if I didn't tell you a little bit too, our vision is to ensure that divas, dynamic, illuminating, victorious, achieving sisters, are portrayed and represented throughout media. Our core values are diversity and inclusion and empowerment, image transformation, social justice, perseverance, and civic engagement. We have partnerships with various casting agencies. The Disney TV animation division sends us casting calls many times. We're always getting casting calls for blind women lately. That's been really a big one, and I'm really happy about that. And young girls. So again, having these partnerships with various casting agencies exactly advances our mission, because that's what we want to do. We want to see ourselves in the space of mass media. You know, as an actress, I can also claim that too. I can call myself an actress, an advocate, an educator. You know, I can call myself a lot of different titles, and I own all of them. But I just want to say, as an actress for young girls, I want to show that young girls with disabilities can be in that space. That if I wanted to show up with my prosthesis on, I could. And if I wanted to take my prosthesis off, I could. We should be able to show up the way that we live. And that's sometimes when I show up on a set and I show up on commercials, that's what I'm actually trying to do. I'm trying to say, you don't have to cast me because I have one leg. You can cast me in any role. I just happen to have one leg, right? I mean, it does, again, it's a detail of my identity, but it doesn't define the whole person. It doesn't define the whole person. So I know I talked pretty fast, and I know I, get all over the place. I get excited, and I hope I haven't missed anything. I know I've missed a lot, but I want to share, I really did want to share this excerpt from my book. It's really the first page, my wonderful book called Shattered Dreams, Broken Pieces. Please buy it at your nearest bookstore. You may do so. But this is how I pretty much started off with my my story. And I'll just read the first page of it. It says, as I dance upon the stage, my body squeezed into a red satin dress, my beautiful long beige shapely legs exposed at the sides, my dark brown hair perfectly coiffed, my face adorned with makeup. The spotlight follows me. I sing at the top of my lungs into the microphone I hold in my hand. The applause reverberates through the room. I smile inside, my heart pounding with excitement and joy. Yes, this was me. This was the me I imagined for years. It was who and what I wanted to be. It was my dream. Unfortunately, as often happens with dreams, something got in the way before it came true, a little thing called reality. Well, that reality may have been somewhat the reality at that time, but I've moved from that reality. I didn't pursue acting right away. I had to transform myself. I mean, when I got the diagnosis and had to lose my leg, I had my vision, I thought my dream was crushed. I thought it was crushed. I had no idea that I would be able to take the broken pieces, if you will, and sort of make this beautiful mosaic. And I don't own any of that, taking all responsibility for that, because my faith got me here today. It's no way I can tell you I snapped my fingers and this all happened. No. My faith got me here today, and has been behind everything that I do with creating the Divas with Disabilities Project. And I know, like I said, I'm trying to just get it all in there, and just going back to Divas. That was the dream. I took that was, everything that I had in me, and I brought that to Divas. And, just basically having this platform where we have the Global Diva Ambassador Program, a part of the Divas program. We also have the Diva monthly conference calls, which we're having one this coming Wednesday, tomorrow. If you get a chance, tune in. Hopefully they can put it in the chat. we're having it at 7 p.m. It's going to be disability and comedy. We have a diva who's going to, do her thing in terms of comedy. So we're always highlighting topics, having, guest speakers, talking about various topics that impact our lives, our lived experiences. And that is what Divas does. Basically, we use this space to create a space where we can be safe, of course, where we can be open, where we can have the opportunities to identify and live out loud as we are. And that cannot forget on a very important project, which I hope Diva's on the call, we can talk more about it. But we got a grant from the Urgent Action Fund, and we put together, or I should say Shamika Andrews put together, because she created this website for individuals who are LGBTQI+, who are with disabilities, and they get to have this website, Prideability, as their resource, and a safe space, again, where they too can come out and talk about the issues that impact them most. And again, Shamika can probably tell you more about it. But I think it's really valuable because, again, that's disability justice. We are everywhere. And because we have disabilities, there are other identities also that are about us. And we cannot forget our sisters and brothers who are LGBTQ, who may live with disabilities as well. That is all embracing all of our full selves. And so there is, let me see, that's a project. The Prideability is a project. Our Diva initiatives, our Diva State of Mind is a project. We have the Diva Calls, that's a project. And I may forget, I know I'm forgetting something, and somebody's going to help me I can have Tamika talk about our wonderful, and if it goes through, get produced, we have a docu-series that we're working on. Don't tell anyone, but we're working on a docu-series, and we hope that we will actually see the change we want to see. We're trying to create our own docu-series where we will highlight 4 divas, if you will, in their own lifestyles, and not reality television, but reality TV, in that these will be women who are living their lives, and we can show society what disability looks like. I think that's going to be really important, showing what disability looks like. Let's see, what else? Have I forgotten anything? If you want to ask me some questions, because I know I've been talking, you can stop me and ask me questions. But otherwise, I'm going to introduce our divas who might be on the call. And I hope that they are, so that they can talk more about the Divas with Disabilities Project. So if I have Tamika, if she's on the call, I'd like for you to get to know Tamika Sitchin Spruce, who can talk more about divas. Why is she a diva? Why did she come to this space as a diva?
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Donna. I want to apologize beforehand that the laptop I'm using, the camera does not work. I'm trying to get my other laptop working, so my apologies. But yes, I love Divas with Disabilities Project. I definitely identify with Donna, because I too went to college and received a bachelor's degree in journalism, and I specialize in broadcasting. And so, yeah, I definitely was discouraged from pursuing a career in journalism. In fact, I was denied entry into a broadcasting school because the administration there said with me being in a wheelchair, no one would want to help me. And they just gave a whole bunch of excuses. So like I said, like Donna, I definitely experienced discrimination, but I too did not, let it stop me, and, got into film and things like that, and nonprofit advocacy work, disability justice work as well. So, I guess I love Divas with Disabilities Project, and it's so great to, see the other women on the calls and, just participate and build community with other women like myself. And then, yes, I'm very excited to be, producing this docu-series with Donna, because I too believe that, representation is very important. I did not see representation of myself growing up. I got injured in a car accident when I was 6 months old. So I have a spinal cord injury. And so, this organization is important, and I'm just glad to be able to work alongside Donna and other women as well to, make the changes we want to see.
Thank you, Tamika. And is Shamika on the line?
Hello.
Hello, Shamika. Can you tell all these wonderful people about Prideability? Tell them about yourself, of course, and then tell them how much you love Divas with Disabilities.
Absolutely. So a little bit about me. I am Shamika Andrews. I am from Albany, New York. I have been a disability advocate for almost 20 years now. And I think I've been involved with Divas for about 4 or 5 years now, which is awesome. And we came to this project, Prideability, because here locally, I was seeing a lot of people coming out of spaces that were looking for resources that not only were LGBT friendly, but were also accessible. So we have, several organizations that serve, people that are LGBT, but a lot of those spaces were not accessible to people with disabilities that identified. So this is when we came up with this project, the Prideability Project. So, and was able to get some support from Divas to build this website, which is prideability.org. Prideability is also a group that meets. It's a statewide group in New York. We meet the fourth Tuesday of every month, and we talk about issues that affect people with disabilities that identify as LGBT plus. And we get together, we connect, we provide trainings. We were actually getting ready to do some speaking engagements at some conferences to train supporters and allies of people with disabilities that are LGBT plus. And we continue to grow the website with resources and develop resources because, as I said, even though there's lots of LGBT resources out there, they're not necessarily accessible to those of us who have disabilities. So we continue to, not only curate materials, but create materials for the website.
Thank you. Did you have some more? I mean, I'm not cutting you off at all.
No, that's okay. No, and like I said, with the continued support of Divas, we will continue to grow the space and, and learn and have conversations. A few months back, we were able to host a Divas call with women specifically that identified as LGBT to have a conversation about the intersections of race and disability and sexuality, which was a great conversation. You can find an article on the website about that conversation, which was very well received, and hopefully we will continue to have these conversations because talking about our intersections is very important. And having spaces like this is also very important. So with that, unless people have questions or things, thank you for allowing me to have this time.
Thank you. I see a question. I don't know if I'm to answer some of these questions or if they're comments. What do you mean?
This is a great transition into starting to ask some questions. Definitely.
Okay, excellent. I don't know if we had one more diva, but I think she's stuck in traffic in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So she might not be on the line. Zazelle, I don't think she made it. But so that's great time.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Oh my God. Thank you. Look at you. I thought you were stuck in traffic in Brooklyn.
I was. I just threw everything down, walked in the house, threw everything down and turned on the computer.
You know, it's never too late. Get in there. Okay, so just introduce yourself real quick and give them a little bit about your background and
I'll just talk just really briefly. My name is Zazelle Shava O'Gara, and I'll just tell you a quick story. I met Donna, maybe, I don't know, is it 10 years ago, I guess? 10 years ago, a very close friend of mine from Germany actually emailed me and said, you need to join or contact this woman who runs Divas with Disabilities. She lived in Berlin. And I said, what? What is this? What are you talking about? And I emailed her and she contacted me immediately. And then she called me and I was at my doctor's office and I literally told the doctor, take the next patient because I'm talking with Donna, because I was just so into what she was doing and so into the organization. And believe it or not, I took the train, the Amtrak from New York City and met her in DC maybe about 2 weeks later. So that's how much I fell in love with Divas with Disabilities. In any event, I am a dancer, actress, disability advocate. I have a dance company here in New York City called ZCO Dance Project. It's a physically integrated dance company. It has about eight or nine people. I've had it since 2013. I became disabled 20 years ago. I had a benign brain tumor, which left me partially paralyzed. And I was a dancer prior to that. But becoming disabled did not stop me from pursuing my dream of continuing to be in the arts. And so I said to myself, since God gave me back my life, I want to give back to others. So that's why I started Divas with Disabilities. That's why I started ZCO Dance Project and Divas with Disabilities.
That's true.
So I'm so very, very happy to be here and meeting everyone. And I just feel so welcomed and loved.
Thank you, Zazelle.
Thank you. I love the intersection of artistry and expression and living in a disabled body, and also the language that we're using. There's so much to dive into. We are starting our Q&A, so all those folks who have been asking questions in the chat, we're going to get to you, and also your hands that are raised, we're going to get to you right now. Before we start getting into questions, I really want to take a group picture as an opportunity to just hold this moment in history, actually, that we all get to be together online. So if there's one time that I would really ask you to turn on your camera, if you're comfortable, this would be the time. Just for your smiles, we'll take a group picture and then we will continue with our Q&A. And I just see the comment too, can anyone abroad speak about accessibility? I heard it's much worse outside, so we'll definitely get into that. I see you. Okay, so we will put yourself on gallery view if you want to, but this is mostly just for our picture and then we'll send it to all of you. So big smiles if you like. And 3, 2, 1, Mixed Space Meetup. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. So I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, but Sheryl Neal, am I saying that correctly? Please correct me.
Yes, it's Sheryl Neal.
Sheryl Neal, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Dr. Walton, for coming and speaking. And also thank you for your information. And thank you for having the courage and the follow through to start the organization.
Thank you.
I am a disabled woman, and I have a podcast. So that was my question about, I know you work with people in film and creating, but I'm a writer and I also do a podcast. So do you also work with people from those areas of media and creation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm also from Chicago, so I'm not in the LA area.
Yeah, you need to come on and join, honey. Come on. Come on over. Come on over. You can do a podcast for us. I mean, absolutely. Can you just get in touch with us? Can you send us an email at info
Absolutely.
at divaswithdisabilities.org?
Okay, we'll do.
And we'll hook you up.
Okay, awesome.
And add your podcast to the chat, please.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Ariel, do you want to take the next question?
Well, I see that someone else's question. So let's just go from the bottom up here. So is it Sasheen? I don't want to mispronounce someone's name. Perfect. What do you have for question?
Hi, my name is Sasheen. I am an individual that is blind, and I am Navajo. I'm Dene, and a lesbian. I have always been passionate about disability advocacy and trying to empower individuals with disabilities. And I've had the unfortunate luck of working for two nonprofits that are supposed to empower and support individuals with disabilities. And they have discriminated against me. And so I've gotten to the point, actually about 10 years ago, I started writing a book about my journey when I became blind and the adversities and barriers I've been confronted with. And I've gotten to the point where I'm actually wanting to get into the film industry because I want to make documentaries in regards to these barriers. I haven't so this last job, I actually just got fired on March 1st and I was only there 3 months and they failed to accommodate me. I've been in touch with a friend of mine that's a senior attorney, and the individual is refusing to respond back from the executive director from the organization. But it's just been so frustrating because I thought I had the position of a general advocate and I thought it was the perfect position for me because of my background and everything that I do. And they just kind of pushed me out. And it was just a total shock when I got terminated or fired on March 1st. And so I really was upset about it, but I'm just wanting to I guess start something new and get away from the nonprofit industry and try to empower and share my story with other individuals because it's not right. I don't understand how an organization that's supposed to help people with disabilities, how they would discriminate against an employee with a disability.
No, what happens is very common. It's very common. Your story is not uncommon at all. I think I would, if you would just kind of send me an email, I'd like to follow up with you about, did you file a discrimination lawsuit? But I don't want to kind of get into most of that here. But I would like to talk to you further. And also something I don't know if it was you who wrote in the chat in terms of saying invisible disability, that term, we try not to use that term because first and foremost, when you use the term invisible disabilities, that's what you become. They don't see you. So we try to move for non-obvious or, but trying to move away from invisible.
Oh, that wasn't me. Wasn't me. But I didn't use invisible disability. But,
okay.
But I'm also I've also become I've started painting again after I lost my sight because I thought I wasn't going to be able to do art. And so I found my own method to be able to create art again. And so that's really helped me through a lot.
And publishing, I think you have a phenomenal story. I think publishing is another avenue that's advocacy as well. So I would definitely encourage you to get your story told in major publications. And perhaps that could be your advocacy work, is creating your own magazine. But again, I could, if we could talk offline, I could give you several ideas by which you can take something that's happening to you and flip the script on it and turn it into power.
My timer just went off. I definitely don't want to interrupt anyone.
Okay.
I love that y'all are continuing to connect. I just want to make sure that we create space for folks to keep sharing. So Near to Me Dispensary, I saw your hand next. And then Future Miss Stephanie, I see your hand next.
Hi, of course, my name's not Near to Me Dispensary. That's where I work. I thought I was on my own personal Zoom, but
Okay. You can change your name.
My name is Faith. My name is Faith. It's very nice to see everyone on here. And my question is, as a person with a mental health disability, Dr. Walton, I know when it comes to disabilities, a lot of people talk about the physical side, physical aspects. And I was just wondering, and this is a first question, in what ways does Divas with Disabilities hold space for those individuals with mental health disabilities?
Is that the first question? You have two questions?
That was the first one.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess to answer that one, we hold space for women with disabilities in general. Okay. First and foremost. And we focus, I should say, we amplify the stories of those lived experiences with physical, because primarily that's our lived experience. Okay. So the work that we do may center around advocating and promoting women with visible disabilities in mass media. However, it does not exclude women with mental health issues. Okay, so we hold a space for you. Again, if it's persons with, let's put it this way, persons with disabilities have to own their disability first and foremost. That's the first thing, owning it. So if you own it, there is no reason why any space you would not be welcomed. That's what I would say that to you. You own it, and that's one of that's what Divas. That's the energy that sort of projects from Divas. We own it. We own it because if we don't own it, no one else will, right? We have to show up first in order for anyone to take us seriously, if you will. So we embrace individuals, women with mental health issues, just as we would embrace women with, physical disabilities. So you're welcome. You're welcome, come on over.
Awesome. Thank you. And
you're welcome.
And number two, I promise it won't take long. I'm actually, I do several things in life. I'm a therapist. I'm a singer-songwriter, arts and culture curator. And also I am a higher education professional working on a doctorate. And just as a person, who already has their doctorate, what, I guess, words of wisdom or gems do you have for people who are navigating doctoral study while, with having a disability?
Right. The first thing I can tell you that earning a doctorate is more about stamina than actual competency. Okay. I just want to say that. So no matter what you do, keep up your strength, because you're gonna have all kinds of balls thrown at you, all kinds of obstacles. Okay, so keep that in mind. Stamina. It's about getting through. It took me 10 years to get my doctorate. Okay, and I didn't stop. I could have, stop. There were many, many obstacles, many barriers, but I didn't stop. So the first thing I want to tell you is that, and I want to leave you with this. This is a gem. If what you want is not behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3, knock a hole in the wall and make a new door. So, you know, as you navigate that space, you find ways to get around it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much for that. And for the people from the mixed space, I did a performative autoethnography about graduate study and mental health disability. And I just wanted to make sure, since I know a lot of people are sharing YouTubes and websites, if it was okay if I could post my performative autoethnography.
Please do.
Okay. All right.
We
Thank you.
create a blog at the end of the meetup. It's called the Meetup Recap. You can find all the blogs on our website where we collect all the links that have been shared in the chat and we make them available for all of our members. So anyone that can hear me, please put your platforms and your links and things that are inspiring to you in the chat so that we can all continue to learn from the chat and from our recap blog.
Thank you so much for that. The next hand that was here was the future Mrs. Stephanie. I can't read your full name, but Hughes.
Yes, it's Stephanie O'Regan, but Stephanie Hughes is my future, certainly because I'm engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for hosting the call, and I would like to introduce myself before I get on to my question. My name is Stephanie. I'm from Cork, Ireland. I have a disability. I have autism spectrum disorder, and I also have a medical condition. It's genetic. I had it since birth, called maple syrup urine disease. It's where my body can't break down the amino acids of protein, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. It affects the liver and the brain. So when I heard about a call on disabilities, I wanted to get on the call and learn more about it and hear other people's stories and share my own. And as well as that, with from my story of having a disability, I have received discrimination not just by race and ethnicity, but also by my disability. When I was going to nursing school to become a nursing assistant, my teacher told me with my condition, I cannot help the elderly. That I was told I wasn't going to be able to help others, that with my medical condition, I probably won't be able to help others because I would get sick a lot. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I was discriminated by my autism, being told so many insults, so many hurtful things that it hurts so much to hear. And it was so difficult. I was even told that, oh, but you don't look autistic and everything, just because they say I don't sound like it. But my question is, what does a person of autism look like then? How do they see it? And that hurts because instead of learning from it, they just assume I'm not. And I just feel hurt. And with the racism, it was hard because my dad's Caucasian, my mother's Colombian, and I don't look like my dad. And people think he's not my dad, or people just think, is she your daughter or your wife? And that feels rude, offensive, and weird. And I didn't like that. So it was hard with racism. And I've been told to go back to my country when I was born in Ireland. And it was all so difficult. So finding this mixed space was relief because I get to connect with others who are like me. And I can learn from other people too.
And we hope that you will also connect with Divas with Disabilities as well.
Of course.
Definitely.
I would love that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Stephanie,
you.
I'm going to let Mike talk because the 3 minutes are up and I just want to make sure that we're letting people speak. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Am I the only mic on here?
You're the one with your hand raised.
Yes. There's always more than one mic everywhere I go, so just making sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So a few things for everyone, but specifically Dr. Walton. I am a BMX bike rider, and one of my favorite bike riders, his name is Julian Molina. If you check him out on his Instagram page, he rides BMX, does tricks, rides ramps, does flips, does all kinds of stuff. And he has one leg. He was in a vehicle wreck where he lost his leg at an early age, but he has a passion for bike riding. And so that didn't stop him. He continues to ride, does things that myself, I can't even attempt to even do. So it's pretty amazing, inspiring. And he's one of my favorite. Again, his name is Julian Molina. I was born with a disease called Coates disease. It's a very rare eye disorder. The fibers, the nerve fibers, don't grow to attach to the back of the eyeball. So while I physically have my right eye is there, it's present, it's not a replacement of any sort, it doesn't work, it doesn't function at all. So my experience in the world, the one that annoys me the most, I think is relevant for people to hear something like this, is every time I have to go to the DMV to redo my driver's license. Every single time when I bring my doctor's notes with me and I tell them that I'm blind in my right eye, they give me this silly looking little spoon and they say, well, cover your left eye and read these letters. And I tell them, I can't see. Like, what's the point of covering my eye? It doesn't work. It doesn't function, as an eye should. And it, I go around in circles with them until eventually a supervisor or manager is called out, because I usually refuse to do what they ask, because I tell them, I have a disability, like you're not believing me right now, and I'm telling you, and I have doctor's evidence, my eye does not function, like stop asking me to cover my eye, I don't need to cover it, so on, right? It's an annoyance though, right? But it's just a little part of my experience in the world. But also, just for context, should I be driving down the road with my window down, and if something were to fly into my eye, which has happened in the past, I very quickly become incapable of seeing the road in front of me, which becomes very frightening, Last thing though, to end on an exciting note, the new Marvel series, Echo, is coming out, and a friend of mine just informed me that the actress performing for Echo, which is a Native American superhero, is not only Native American, she is also deaf, because the character is a deaf Native American in the storyline that was created for it as well. So keep an eye out for that, because there will be a deaf Native American actress playing a deaf Native American character as a superhero. Check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. iPhone. You're called iPhone. So I know that's not your name, but it's all I have to go off. Your hand is raised. You are welcome to share.
It might be me.
Am I iPhone?
It's you. It's the second voice.
Hello, hello everybody. This is iPhone here. JK, my name is James Dietz. I don't know if you hear my voiceover reading the chat messages that are coming through, but I'm totally blind. I use a screen reader voiceover to do everything. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to change my name to put my pronouns he, they. Totally blind, as I said before. Dr. Wanda, thank you for, thanks to my friends invited me to this meeting. So thanks, guys. Thanks, people. I want to say that I have been totally blind my entire life, minus 6 months. And only when I was about 24, 25, did I really start to realize that the world is made for sighted folks. Like, I was in DC, I live in DC, and it finally hit me that the signs on the metro are made for sighted people to see how long the metro will be away, like from you, when the train's coming. And like, that information just isn't available to me. There's plenty that is available because of the work of disability activists and protesters back in the 70s and up until today. I want to thank Wanda for helping me move into this space of pain just now, because honestly, for years I had written off Hollywood as just all fake and just something something that I feel like the stories were too curated. But as I see and hear and experience more media produced, directed, and starring people with disabilities, to us telling our own stories. It's like healing, and it's really cool because it's different and it's exciting, and it's a break from the stale. And also to just think about somebody doing Hollywood is very brave, and it offers me a space to go into my own discomfort and pain about my own closing of that door years ago. Thinking of it as a legitimate avenue that could really inspire change, and instead of cornering it like I had been doing. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Sorry if y'all are hearing my voiceover. I'm just trying to mute myself back. You can do it for me. Oh, here we go.
Thanks. And James, just so that you know, we actually also changed your name for you because TMS Tech Support can do that. So folks can see your name on the screen now. Well, there are no more hands. There are tons and tons and tons of more questions. We are getting ready. We are getting ready in a little bit to start breakout rooms, but we do have time for a few more questions, one or two. Yeah.
Lily, could you show the video?
Absolutely. Great. Thank you for the reminder. Let's show the video.
That would be great. Let's roll the tape.
Yeah. Let's show the video.
Brilliant, courageous, and fabulous. We are powerful, creative, caring, compassionate, and sometimes provocative. We are advocates, educators, and motivators. And while the word disability may be applied to us, it does not define us, because we are more than just the sum of our body parts. We are divas with disabilities. These are the sentiments expressed by Black and brown women and girls who happen to live with visible disabilities and are members of the Divas with Disabilities Project, a nonprofit organization with the mission of reshaping what disability looks like by ensuring that our images are included in the media and popular culture. DWD started out in Washington, D.C. as a digital movement created to amplify the images of African American women with physical disabilities. It has since evolved into an international network supporting Black and brown women and girls with physical disabilities by ensuring our identities are fostered in inclusive sources of mass media and popular culture, and our images are not erased from American history. We like to use the phrase showing up unapologetically because we, as divas, show up in our space boldly, proudly, authentically, disabilities and all. We are divas with disabilities.
Yay, divas!
Yeah, so this is also my opportunity to continue to shamelessly plug what we're doing here today, which is to use the mixed space in our community as a portal for funds and for money. Money is a currency and it's an energy. And I can only say I'm very grateful and I feel inspired and touched to be here. And we continue to encourage folks to pay it forward and to use dollar bills to also to communicate that additionally. So we're putting the link in the chat again for folks to donate to Divas with Disability, our partner organization here today, and make a difference on many levels. It's not just about money or sharing or showing up or protesting. There's so many ways that we can become connected and that we can use our voice to share stories and to support. And whoever can give, please do.
Thank you. And also to share, put in a link about if you want to become a Global Diva Ambassador, you can send us an email at info@divaswithdisabilities.org.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to be a global ambassador.
Okay, you can be, Lily. You can
I also want to be a global ambassador.
So breakout rooms, when you get into the breakout rooms, all of you, they are not recorded. They are completely confidential and safe. Please start by assigning a moderator. Anyone can volunteer to be a moderator. And the moderator is responsible for guiding the group through the breakout rooms to ask the questions of the agenda and to keep time, just to be someone to make sure that everyone has a chance to share. We ask that you limit to 3 minutes at a time so that we make sure that we have space. Moderators can keep time with their timer app or use any device that they feel comfortable with to keep a 3-minute timer. And when you hear the timer go off, it's just a gentle reminder to close your thought and pass the floor on to someone else. So to join a breakout room, you don't have to do anything. Zoom puts you in a breakout room automatically, just accept it. And please also, we're putting our feedback form in the chat. If in case you do have to leave early, please make sure to fill out our feedback form. Your voice is really important to us and your experience is really important to us. And so we will be in breakout rooms for approximately 30 minutes, which gives people a chance to really get to know each other and to continue to share in this safe space and for us to learn from each other's experiences.
So you can see a whiteboard that is up on the screen. This is a kind of really exciting feature of what we do now. So now that we're back from all the breakout rooms, we get to enjoy this cool whiteboard session. You can click the bottom, which we'll see like annotate. Okay, so if you go view options, you'll be able to annotate. And then once you hit annotate, you can draw or do text bubbles on this whiteboard, this really fun whiteboard that we have here. Is anyone having a hard time annotating? Okay, there we go. We're seeing some cool things already start to happen. So once again, if you go to the top of your screen and you hit the view options, there's a little caret arrow down. So you just hit that and then you scroll down to annotate. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scrolls down. So you can hit annotate and then be able to type onto this whiteboard thing. And yeah, and people are already dropping leave no one behind. There's a fun little diamond thing. There's a heart. So this is kind of just a space for you to drop in anything that's really resonated with you. Any words or phrases or something that you heard in your breakout room that you're like, yes, this really resonated with me. Someone said something about the spectrum of disabilities. So I'm gonna type that. And yeah, and now this is kind of like a more open forum. So feel free to take yourself off mute and just share openly what's been resonating with you thus far, something you heard in your breakout room, or just, I know that there was a hand before we left to go to breakout rooms. So if that person wants to share, you're more than welcome to. We are all just sharing now.
Thank you,
James
Ariel.
here.
Oh, no, please go
All
for
right,
it.
yeah, I'll go. James here, they. I'm not sure if the annotation thingy is accessible to me as a blind person. So I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not sure how to access that, but I'll check around the iPhone Zoom client and see if I find something.
Thank you for naming that, James. We were just talking to each other about that. We're absolutely aware that there's probably many aspects of the Zoom experience that we haven't been able to find appropriate accommodation to allow everyone to interact in the same way. However, if there's anything that you want to name that you would like to have on this, it's like a dry erase board essentially. And on this dry erase board, there's 10 people at a time. It's like a community art space where people can either draw things or they can write words or phrases. If there's anything that you would like for us to add, we're happy to do that on your behalf. And you can either put it in the chat or name it out loud.
Hi, can I offer something relative to this? Please. So just in the service of accessibility for folks, I'll read what's listed on here. Customer service skills, make the most of your mania. Disability transcends class, gender, sex, and more. Anyone can have disability. The importance of sharing individual stories and fostering connection. Inclusion is love. Don't leave your friends behind. Accessibility looks like more than just tables and bathroom stalls, and someone wrote this with an arrow pointing back to that comment. Systems need to drastically change for the world to actually be accessible. And there are maybe 7 small hearts in a configuration, and then they're all red, and then there's 3 red hearts, and there are another small group of 3 red hearts at the bottom of the screen, and there are a lot of drawn hearts on the screen of varying sizes and colors, and there's a diamond shape in red, and maybe a leaf that's drawn in blue, and a rectangular shape that's beige.
I think it might be a
as
book.
well. Oh, it's a book. Sorry.
Oh.
Thank you.
As I looked at that, because the stories. Also, whoever drew, I think that was great. Whoever drew the heart and peace sign, I think is what I'm seeing in green. Very cool. If that's what it's supposed to be.
I'm interested in going back to this conversation that was picked up in the chat around invisible disability. And then, Donna said that that's a phrase that she doesn't really like to use because it feels like it makes the person and their disability invisible. And then there was an offering of dynamic disability. And I'm just curious if there's more thoughts on that. And in general, this is a space I personally have a love for language and words. And so I'm just offering here that if there's folks that have phrases or the way that they describe things that feels like it's fitting for them or just more inclusive. People also offered, LGBTQ siblings earlier as a reminder for ways to phrase things that aren't gendered or at least not gendered within the gender binary. I would really love if people felt like they had something that they wanted to share. And Mike Avila, I also see your hand is raised.
Thank you for throwing in my last name there. I want to highlight Lisa. Lisa from my group just shared in there. Lisa's looking. Lisa, I encourage Lisa to ask her question to the entire group because she's looking for some support, either online, in person. She's in Boston. So if you see her on there, just notice that Lisa sent a message to everyone. So folks can read that, help her out if you have some ways to support with some information. That would be great.
Thank you.
This is not this. I'm just going to say something to what was just being spoken about right before I jumped in. But, when I worked at schools, we had separate classrooms for, the title for those students were special needs. And there was other ways to address them, but basically it was students with disabilities were isolated to a separate room. In some cases, I agreed like that was the best place for them to be. But also in a lot of other cases, it's like, why can't they just be with like the quote unquote general population or, oftentimes what was considered like the regular kids, which is really problematic, but, it was usually an issue of budgeting, can't pay enough adults to walk around and help support them, which I think usually devolves down to a lack of interest in wanting to support each student and their specific need and getting someone to support them so that they can be included just in the school in general as opposed to being isolated away. So anyways, there was this thing around invisibility and so on, and what are other names. I think it was dynamic disabilities. But for me, as someone who, unless I say I'm blind in one eye, nobody knows it. So I'm not sure what the best resolve is for that type of issue. Check.
Thanks. I'm just going to read what Lisa wrote in the chat and then also let the next person share. Lisa says, seeking more peer support and any resource to help with flipping the script, being discriminated. Also writing stories, poetry, or art to feel more empowered, just seeking more support.
The next person that I saw was who? Sarah, I believe.
Sarah, definitely. But also someone was just about to speak. I feel like I saw their green. So when we're getting to that place now, like people just jumping in versus raising your hand, so we might get a little discombobulated. But Faith, if you wanted to say something, I saw your green thing too.
Okay. Hi everybody. This is actually my first meetup meeting. So I apologize. I was the one who had to leave for a little bit. I actually am an advocate for mental health awareness, and I'm part of the Racine, Milwaukee area of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. So I had to go in for a meeting to do a committee board meeting. So I apologize for my tardiness, but I wanted to kind of find out more about Meetup because this is a really interesting group, and I really like the fact that there is a group like this for people who have disabilities to be able to just kind of, you know, have that support. This is totally nothing that I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought this was going to be more like more of a, like an advocacy kind of a thing where it's going to be more like volunteers. I didn't realize it was actually people who have disabilities that are coming together to support each other. And I think that's really cool because I'm a person with disabilities as well. And, you know, I guess you can say that my disabilities, you know, are not apparent to people because it's not like a visual physical disability that I have. And I don't like to say that it's an invisible at all because you mean that, like you said, like someone just said, like saying that your disability is invisible, like that's kind of, it can be problematic at times to people. But I just wanted to find out more about the Meetup space and like kind of like what goes on here and how I'm able to become more connected in the group, because I feel like this is something that will help me, and it'll be able to also help me be able to advocate so people, you know, other people who have disabilities who don't know about this space, but who would benefit from being a part of this group, because I think it's really awesome that this is available.
Thanks, Sarah. I'll take this one if this is okay with you.
I was about to say, why don't you take this one, Lily?
So Sarah, the mixed space isn't necessarily a space that exists primarily for folks with disabilities. The mixed space is a space that is mainly a space for us to come together for a conversation around intersectional identity. So what we do every month is that we create space and we curate a conversation for folks to unpack the different layers of their identity. Like Donna said, for example, what is it like and what are the experiences? What are the questions and the needs for folks who are at the intersection of being woman, Black, and disabled, for example. My personal story, for example, is that I'm the child of interracial marriage. My father is a military sergeant. I was born in the US, but lived in Germany. I was a child of like 2 continents, of multiple languages. And so that question of like, well, what is my identity? How do I move through the world as a Black woman, looking the way that I do, being accepted or not accepted in different spaces? That is kind of the original premise of how the conversation started. And yet my desire is to be able to connect with folks and build resources with folks who have experiences that are completely different than mine and still are talking about intersections and the intersections of everyone's identities. And what we notice every month when we come together is that so much of what we share is very relatable, and that some of the language that people share feels similar to what we feel inside, even though we look completely different and we have completely different experiences. And so we have, I actually don't see, did Sarah go away? Are you still here, Sarah?
No, Sarah's here.
Okay, so we have a conversation that focuses on a different topic every month. So in January, we had a non-binary trans yoga instructor who talked about healing in the body and healing in the soul and being able to heal through multiple dimensions, and that it's not just, you know, yoga isn't just for white skinny bodies. And we talked a lot about inclusion and diversity and what wellness looks like. And in February, we talked about like we used basic, I'm calling it basic, but we talked about what does the word intersectionality really mean? How do people feel about the word mixed and the pros and cons about just language in terms of defining how we identify and what that means. And now in March, we're talking about accessibility and ableism. And for me personally, I'll end here. It's really important because I personally hold so much privilege in so many ways. And yet I've also experienced racism. I've also experienced marginalization. I know what it's like to feel excluded. I know what it's like to feel less than and not enough. And that is actually a universal feeling that is a plague in human society, that love and connectedness and respect and connection actually can heal. And so we don't specifically exist to center folks with disability on a regular basis. Our goal today is especially also to collect resources so that folks that need that can actually find and connect with other spaces that do exist just for that. And yet we do our very best to be as accessible as possible, and to know that you are welcome here in all of your layers of your identity every month. And we'll do the best that we can to make sure that we can stay accessible for you, to keep unpacking about your experiences and your identity in anything that it pertains to.
And I see the hands, and I definitely will call on them, but I feel like and I'm just keeping track of time, and everyone's here and we're vibing. So I will also just use this opportunity to talk about kind of like, because now we're on the topic of what the mixed space is and who we are and what we do. So you can always find out more about all the meetups that we have. They are totally actually accessible for your viewing on our YouTube page. So you can watch all the meetups that we've had in the past. We also do small clips of them as well on YouTube. And anytime that you want to get in contact with us. So for example, if you feel really called to have a discussion about, a disability, reach out to us, and we would love to explore what that looks like further. You can totally 100% submit to be a blog writer as well. There's so many ways to collaborate with us. So if you feel certain like that you're very passionate about talking about disabilities, we would actually just love to connect with you and move forward about different ways that we can collaborate. All these things are available on our website as well. So you just reach out to contact at the mixed space. We could talk about people on this Zoom, whatever you focus on, being blog writers or anything else that anyone here can think of in terms of a collaboration. We are more than happy to facilitate that conversation as well. Really quickly, we do have feedback. So if you want to learn more about stuff, I love a good feedback form. We're going to drop the feedback form also in the chat as well. So we actually have changed the structure of these meetups so often to fit the feedback that we get. TMS OG people know this. We are changing it. Next month, we're actually doing a talk about relationships and what being in a relationship looks like if you're mixed or if you have layered identities, whatever that means, right? Because mixedness is all encompassing of different identities and how you show up, and you contain all of yourself in that. So that's what we're talking about. So feel free to RSVP for that. Lily, do you want to talk about anything else? Any last reminders? Just because I know it is kind of time to close up. We're going to go back to the hands in a second, but I just want to give space.
Yeah, so just to preview what we do now that the meetup is like officially closing, we keep the Zoom open, and it's like the after party starts. And this is like when Zoom community hour starts, where it's really just a free for all for us to continue to get to know each other. So
and like continue naming those questions.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially Danny, James, and Peter, if you're around, I'd love to hear your questions, and I'd love to continue the conversation if anyone wants to keep annotating the whiteboard. Keep an eye out for our emails and keep an eye out on our Instagram. That's where you'll get most of our information. We'll let you know when our YouTube video is up. Again, there's a blog that we post after the meetup called the Meetup Recap that has the links of the folks that were shared. So you don't have to keep notes or copy it all yourself. You'll just have all of the links there in one neat place, and you'll have all the links of the past month. So it's like June of 2021. We did Juneteenth. There's a bunch of links for that. There's food sovereignty, there's education, there's topics on communities, on Native communities and First Nations. There's we have a bunch of different storylines that we've curated conversations about. AAPI Heritage Month, for example, and the challenge and with the language around that. So for anyone that's interested in the meetups that we've had in the past, check out our YouTube, check out our IAG, and then we also have all of that information on our website for sure. And yeah, like Ariel said, we love to stay in contact with you. If anyone wants to DM us on our Instagram or send us an email, we're open. And we are looking for a 2.0 speaker. Still, we have a follow-up conversation on Instagram with an individual speaker to just highlight some of the parts of the conversation that we didn't get to center at our main meetup. And if anyone knows anyone or personally feels called to hop on IG with Ariel and do like a one-on-one conversation, or actually Instagram does multiple now, so it could even be multiple people, we're definitely open for that. And Sarah, for example, if you wanted to do that and talk about all the different organizations that do center folks with disabilities and collect resources, and that's definitely something that we're open to. So yeah. I think
just let us know.